If you want to be defined what health condition you got, they go to the blood. It's through the blood that they're able to detect whether you got high blood pressure, or whether you got certain disease. It's all defined in the blood. So if the blood of the family is so strong, and if you don't detach yourself from those things, they transfer to you. Because we're subject to trust family more than we trust anyone else. We always say family stay together, family pray together, family that what? Is that always true? So we got family dynamics that every person in this room have experienced. Everyone that talked, from pastor to prophet Sandra to anyone that spoke thus far, every one of them related to some type of childhood trauma. Yeah. Most of it start, in fact, 99.99%, if I could say scientifically, based on Peyton Power definition, and no look for the scale, but my belief is this. All the things that we have come to do started when we was young. Your first impression of life was based on your childhood. You learn to be secret as a child. You practice being deceptive as a child. But you got more skillful at it as an adult. Most tragedy that happen to children, they never tell because they've been told not to tell. We're told, don't tell on grown folks. Or better, don't talk about the grown people. In my days, if you talk to a grown person, you're supposed to do what they tell you to do. And we know today, don't tell your children that. Your kids can be very violated based on your instruction to tell them what not to do versus what they're supposed to do. That's why you shouldn't leave your kids with anybody. The very way that you probably got violated in some form or another, if you put your children in the same predicament, it's a generational thing. Yeah. So you had to break that cycle, because when you get to an adulthood, you get to a certain age of life, you start doing what was done to you. May not be the same violation, but it'll be the same darkness. How do you fix that? How do you stop what happens as a child from happening to you as to your children? You gotta look in the mirror and remember that this thing is subject to happen again. Yeah. But most of us do this. We don't look in the mirror ourselves. We don't look in the mirror to see Brother Lowe and see Sister Bishop. See, I can see them, but I don't see me. That's the most dangerous thing about the mirror, is that you look at others, but you don't see yourself. And no parent should ever allow their children to be accessible by anybody. Right. If you want to go and have a good time, you don't just leave your kids with anybody. You got to be very careful about these sleepovers. Amen. Most of the violations take place in the sleepover with children. Curiosity kills the cat. And a lot of times what happens as in the generational issue, the dysfunction, is that nobody tells what happened at the time that it happens. And then when a child does tell what happened, nobody believes them. Yeah. Yeah. What creates another issue. When your child tells you that this man is touching her, you ought to take it at face value. If your child shows any sign of a different, of a normative acting, you should be concerned. You don't trust anybody with your children. How many know everybody got tendency? Tell your next neighbor, you got tendency too. Meaning you capable of doing things that you're not supposed to be doing because of dysfunction. And when there's dysfunction, if you don't address dysfunction, it will continue being dysfunction. It become a normal dysfunction. Yeah. And every time you wake up, you're seeing the same thing. If a girl ever been violated or been molested, if a boy ever been molested, he can see those same signs on another child. Yeah. Yeah. The problem is we don't say nothing. How many women have stood and said they was abused? And yet no one seemed to believe the story. So she shows in shutdown mode. Girl, you shouldn't have to tolerate that. You should just leave. But you don't understand the dynamic she has. It ain't like you going to put another house and pay the mortgage. So the dynamics of being in an abusive relationship remain because no one is helping people to come out of the situation other than talking to them. Talking doesn't make action.
That's right.
You have to get involved. And that's what I'm learning today in life. We come out of dysfunction. It's right when you think you're normal, you realize you're not normal. You look at that family. Oh, I wish my family was like that. Got a husband and wife in the house, and kids seem to be happy. You don't know what kind of hell they're going through at nighttime over there. Because there are a lot of people they put on a good front. How many times have you came to church, you and your husband had a good throwdown? Get on church ground. Hallelujah. Kids are like, which creates a dysfunction for them. Because now the church appears to be a false place to come to because you're at the jackass out there and you come up here holding it down. We love you, Lord. Got a symphony going on. Get back to the car, pick up where you left off. Kids still looking like, this is some stuff here. But if that's been your dysfunction of your normalcy of your childhood and your family upcoming, then that's why you do the same thing that was done with you or before you. Because nobody wants to be dysfunction. Nobody wants to be in a place where there's no normalcy, where it should be happening. Well, I would love to meet somebody that can say, my childhood had no trauma. My childhood had no problem. Even I believed that we didn't have no problem until I realized one day I looked at me, man, y'all was messed up too. Somebody's story may be worse than yours, but you still got a story. But how do I protect my children from experiencing the dysfunction that I experienced? Is I got to have the conversation. Got to talk about it. Got to put it on Front Street because a lot of times in the dysfunction of a family, the first thing the family tell you, we don't talk about family business. If the business jacked up, it need to be talked about. If the uncle got too many loose hands, it need to be talked about.
That's right.
It's a shame to know that someone in the family is doing something of a pedophile and nobody say anything about it. We don't want to mess with the family now. Your neighbor already messed up. And you're making it worse by not exposing the enemy of a pedophilia mentality. Just to hear your child as an adult tell you that such did this to me, and when you could have avoided that by being in place. It's quiet now. Most dysfunction is a participation of people who should have did something. In other words, it could have been avoided if somebody in the family would have said something. If somebody in the family would have just took a position, they don't like you anyway, you might well go ahead and talk. But when you're being tricked to believe the lie that we're supposed to keep this in the family, but what you keep it in the family is toxic. It's detrimental. I've always practiced when it comes down to my family is to take a position of protection. That's what you're supposed to do. But when I'm protecting something, I see and I detected something else, I'm going to ask questions. See, I'm not going to be just a protective mode without asking questions. Because I got to ask why I'm keep protecting this. I need to know why I'm protecting it. What is it doing for us? How do we change these dynamics here? Because we don't change them, it's going to be passed on from generation to generation, and everybody that connected to us will have this issue of dysfunction when we could have fixed it. We're praying to God to deliver, but nobody's getting delivered because we're not addressing the dysfunction. We're just going along to get along. A broken heart, a contrite spirit, he said he would know why to cast out. But how many know everybody in this room have experienced a broken heart at some point of life? And 99% of the time it's family. Yeah. How you be family? Y'all don't speak to each other. But it happens. Because the dysfunction of the family is, if you don't go my way, it's the highway. Things you learn from a dysfunction level as a child, you see your parents do it, you see your relatives do it, you will start doing the very same thing yourself and don't realize you're doing it. If your father and mother was physically abusive to you, if you're not careful, you don't get control and get delivered, you do the same thing to your children, what was done to you. And you give it praise as though you're doing God's work. You use scripture. Spare the rod, spoil the child. You know, some kids do need a good whipping. But every good whipping is not a physical belt. Some of the good whippers just take that dang electronic from there and tell you ain't getting it back till you feel like it. Until you get delivered. That means you be 21 by then. But we cannot fix the dysfunction if we don't address the dysfunction itself. It does exist. Nobody in this room can say they have not had some type of tragedy or trauma in your life. Yeah, I hear me tell the story about the guy that told me hell no, he wouldn't be my father. And when I first tell it, some people kind of laugh. Then they look back and say, man, that's bad. But you don't realize how painful that was for me. Because my friends had fathers. Not that my mom didn't have a husband. My father died. So my mother never remarried. But the person that she dated from time to time was a problem for us. Though I had the natural goods, we had the finances, we had the lifestyle, but I was absent of a genuine father. And that was painful. That it caused me in my mental psyche to say, when I become going to have my own kids, this is what I'm going to do. And I practiced that. But I was forced to do something that shouldn't have been done to me. It should have been easily acceptable that when God has someone for you, he has them for you. Ladies, you cannot get a good husband if you're shopping in the stores. In other words, don't be an Amazon shopper. Did that make sense? You know, Amazon, you can choose multiple. Yeah. Look at the reviews. If it's 3-star, leave it. If it's a 4-star, if you see a 5-star, get the 5-star one. What I'm saying is, we become creatures of habit based on what we have experienced. There's no perfect man. There's no perfect woman. But what it is a person that has a heart for God and a love for God. And let me read this cross to you all, and then I'm going to close and pick up next Sunday. Just a response. Don't get irate. Don't act like your cousins. There was this guy on Facebook. He was asking a question to social media. And he says he's a professional barber, and his situation was his baby mama brought the child to get a haircut, and he charged her. And he was wondering, was he wrong for charging her because he paid child support? Was he wrong? But he pays child support. So this is another whole hour session right here by itself. Because typically, ladies, listen to me, men in their objective belief feel because they pay child support, that's enough. And then we had the audacity to question how that child support is supposed to be spent. It's supposed to be spent on the child only. How is that possible? What is $35 going to do? And even your child support $300 a month, what is that going to do for the roof over the head, food on the table? Wait, if you give it to the child, what are you going to do with it? Buy Nintendo stuff? My point is the difference between how men and women think. Men think, typically, if I pay child support, that should cover everything. That don't even pay your taxes, rascal. Is your child only worth $75 a month? That's the value of your child. You didn't say that when you was down. I'm gonna pay you $75 a month now. Does that make sense? Ain't nobody gonna let you keep doing that until you tell me to pay them $75 a month. What's wrong with you? So he says, and you know social media wouldn't happen. They did. His mindset is a generational dysfunction. Because I pay child support, that's supposed to cover all the expenses of that child. And then you have another jacked up situation. Say you got a person that makes a lot of money. And all of a sudden, they pay you $5,000 a month in child support for that one child. For some reason, you feel that you're entitled to a raise. Now you silly. I'll leave that alone. The women pay the money. You men don't give that. So I'm gonna back. No. That's dysfunction. For you to think you're gonna live off the child support.
That's right. That's right.
You see, the men are jacked up about not by paying a certain amount. You jacked up about thinking you should get a certain amount. The child support is not for your nails, your extensions or weed. It wasn't for that. Go get your feet done yourself. Get a job. Don't be telling man you need to pay more child support so you can pay Pookie dinner. You see the dysfunction? You go demand him to give you more child support so you can get a Leroy Xbox system. If it ain't Leroy, I'm sorry, Pookie or Ray Ray or DeMarcus. It is not his responsibility for your upkeep.
That's right.
And if you think that the child support is for your upkeep, now you got a dysfunction going on. And then you don't use not paying child support to now let him have access to his children.
That's right. Help us, sir. That's right.
Now you send your kids on the auction block. Basically what you're saying, unless you give me this amount of money, you can't see my child.
Right. That's right.
And you can't say my child when both of y'all did it to get. Don't be saying my child. No, it's ours. Stand to your feet. Till lights on. We did Teddy Pentecost long enough to turn them off. Turn them on now. See, dysfunction is life of this picture here. He's an older gentleman now, but being life's messed up as a young person. The difference is both of them got gray, but one is much maturer than the other, but still the same person, we could say for the sake of time. But the mirror is shattered. It's broken. He's young and hurt. He's old and alone. Dysfunction only changes when you change from being dysfunction. Mm-hmm. It's recognized that I got some messed up stuff going on. And not only am I messed up, I'm messing other folks up. No child as an adult now can say, look back, see their life has not been in some form of dysfunction. If a man has a reputation of multiple women, that's a dysfunction.
It is.
Okay, you're trying to prove something. You're trying to feel better about something that makes it better. Or you find yourself always gravitating to the wrong people. That's dysfunction. We're looking for the come up. That's a dysfunction.
It is.
Waiting for someone to sanction us. That's a dysfunction.
It is.
So therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things pass away, behold, all things become new. I will be 60 years old next month. And the dysfunction I say I have is thinking that I don't want to get old when I'm already old. I'm talking real talk here. See, I can fool myself by coloring my beard, but it doesn't change the fact I'm 60 years old. I can go get me a six-pack installed and everything. Still, I'm still 60 years. Still 60. I don't have the time to do all that crunch. No, I can't do that. I got an injured shoulder. Implant. If y'all can get BBL, I can get an implant here then. If I ain't knocking the BBL, don't knock my implant. Still the same. But how many know sometimes in our closing, we laugh at the dysfunction, but we don't fix it? Every head bow. Just for a moment, I want you to think about where you are in your life today and what immediate changes need to take place. What about the person in the mirror that you'll see next week that you would see that you would not want to be no more? What person would you tell this not the normal? It's not normalcy here. This is not the way it's supposed to be. God fearfully, wonderfully made us. But yet, even his fearfully, wonderfully making us, we still got some things in our lives that need to be repaired. He said he'll make you repair the breach, but you can't repair the breach if you haven't been repaired yourself. You can't help someone else if you haven't been helped yourself. So at this moment, we're going to call for people to come to the altar and say, you know what? I got some things going on that need to be fixed. And need to be fixed now.